A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, my parents took my brother and me to see the opening night of Star Wars. I was 8 years old when I heard the amazing music swell, and I felt the amazing Imperial starship overhead, and I heard it, and I saw the opening crawl, and I knew this was something I had never seen before. The story blew our minds. It was 1977, and at 8 years old, I asked my father, why did this story impact me so much? I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. I wanted to carry that lightsaber. I wanted to use the Force. I wanted to become a Jedi Knight. And so he let me know that we have all a path to take in life, that it's the hero's journey, that we start with a call to adventure, and we refuse that call, and we meet the mentor, and we go through the road of trials. The road of trials is more than half of the story, and that the road of trials is when you actually have to slay the dragon. You have to take out that lightsaber, and you have to fight the enemy. And you have to be tested, because it's in those times when we are tested that we find that we are the hero of our journey. Life is not simply an A to B path. And a lot of times when we think so, we think, well, I'm here at A, and when I get to B, then I'll be happy. For example, when I graduate from high school, then I'll be happy. Or you get to college, when I graduate from college, then I'll be happy. And we set up this false expectation that landing at B is going to make us happy, when it's not like that at all. Life is a spiral, and we go around the full circle of the hero's journey, and we come back to our core issue that we must confront deep within ourselves in order to go to the next level. Wherever that wound is, that is the gift. That is the place where we transform. And so when I decided to sign up for the Peace Corps, I believed that I was signing up to be happy, that being happy is something that each of us determines. It is not something that we find outside of ourselves. It is within us. It's our choice. And so I made this choice to go into the Peace Corps, and I found myself loving serving the people there. But again, I found myself putting happiness way out there. When I finish the Peace Corps, then I'll be happy. Okay? When I finish writing my book, then I'll be happy. When I write the screenplay and sell it, then I'll be happy. And I got caught up in that A to B, almost forgetting about the hero's journey, almost forgetting about the spiral. And I said, when I sell my book, that's it. I'll know I have made it. And actually, when I wrote the book, I was surprised to find that I had written my book as the heroine's journey, that even though I had not studied the heroine's journey, that it is subconscious within each of us. This movement that we make and internally and how we grow is a choice that we make when we confront those parts of us, those broken pieces. The grief that we feel sometimes is the road of trials, and we need to find our way back to happiness. What do? We have to find our way out. Story is medicine for those dark times. It helps us find our way out. And for me, it's been such a joy 42 years later to share a masterpiece like Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi with my children and my husband, and notice how the story medicine works in my life. And Rian Johnson, call me, I have an idea for a film. The cave, the Rey being in the cave, that part of the road of trials is not fun. We don't feel like we want to be there, but it sucks us right into facing what's going on within us, the problems that we are noticing again with ourselves over and over again. What do we need to do to look at ourselves in the mirror and be enough? How do we find that joy within ourselves to accept who we are and the decisions that we've made? So going through the hero's journey, we know that there is this road, and we have to commit. We have to have courage to keep going on, even when it looks like we can't. I thought when I got married that everything would be easy. I had found happiness. I have a wonderful husband. I have loving children, and my son was 4 years old. Nathaniel had a lot to teach me about what it means to be on the road of trials. And I had thought, oh, it's going to be easy. I have another baby. I got the first one down. I was a stepmother. But no, parenting, that is the hardest journey of all, because it makes you look at yourself at the deepest level. And when I was ready to have a baby, I told Nathaniel, we can walk to school or I can drive you. And Nathaniel, being who Nathaniel is, said, I will bike to school. I said, that's not an option. And all of a sudden, he fell to the ground. I was like, wow, what a dramatic kid at 4 years old. And I went to pick him up. But Nathaniel was not having a tantrum. He was having a seizure. I didn't know what a seizure looked like. He was completely healthy up until that point. And so I tried to shake him and to get him to talk to me, to look at me. He was unconscious. His body was still convulsing, and with a baby in my belly ready to be born on September 1st, that was my due date, he was unresponsive. And I thought he died in my arms. And I held this little guy, and I called my husband because he had just left the house and the garage door closed. And I was screaming that Nathaniel had died. He said, I'll be right there. I called 911. I explained my son is not breathing. And that started us on the course to make sure that we were going to find what was really inside us. What did we have inside us? How we were going to get through the road of trials. Nathaniel had to go through lots of tests, EEGs. He was hospitalized multiple times because his seizures kept getting longer and longer. First, a few minutes, and first only once a day. Then it was 10 times a day. Then the seizures were lasting 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We were getting to a point where we were reaching that critical place. 30 minutes and a brain cannot receive enough oxygen to survive, or mental retardation will be the result. I really tried to find out everything I could about what to do to help this little boy's brain. I took us on runs near Westcliff, and I remember Nathaniel saying, I really want to surf. And I looked at him. He wasn't having a seizure in this moment. We were out to get out, to just take a break from what was happening with his medical history. And I told him, not right now. I don't know what's going to happen, but we will see. And I wanted to, in that moment, tell him that anything was possible in his future. But what it looked like with all the reading I was doing, with all the tests that we were taking, with the friends who visited us at the hospital, I found that the only refuge I had were books. I was, as an English teacher, trying to control Nathaniel's epilepsy by reading and by taking him to the hospital again and again. The doctor said, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for the worst. He may not make it through this. His longest seizure was 26 minutes. And we were getting close to that critical time. And I asked the doctor, he's having seizures now in his sleep, and they're going back to back together. We had 17 hours where he never regained consciousness. And I remember thinking, I can't live through this. It was breaking my heart. But then I remembered that Rumi said, it's when the heart breaks that it releases its innermost perfume. That's how we find out who we are, is with our hearts breaking on that road of trials, when things feel like we can't make it. but we keep moving on. And my husband said, yeah, it's possible that he will die, but it's also possible for him to outgrow it. Didn't you read that? And I said, yeah, I did, but the doctor said to prepare ourselves. And he says, doctors don't know everything, honey. He says, we're going for the outgrowing it. We're going for seeing Nathaniel as perfectly whole and healthy. And I couldn't be there with him because he had all of this hope and I had all of this despair. And how are we going to find a way to make sure that our little 4-year-old boy was going to live? And he said, you just have to keep the hope, which is really what story medicine is all about. Star Wars is a story of hope. It's a story of finding a way when there is no way, by believing, by going inside and finding out who you are, by facing those dragons and those demons. So we finally got to a place where we told the doctor, hey, doctor, this is my husband. He works in a hospital too. We said, we're wanting to go for that other path. And he said, well, we're going to have to drug this little boy so much to stop the pattern, this neural net in the brain. It gets stuck and it keeps repeating itself. And that happens in our lives too, where we can't move forward because of this lock that we have in our brain about what's possible. And my husband, I called him one day because the children were both sleeping, my infant and my son, and I started to cry. I had gone through 6 months not having any emotion and not crying for what we were going through, holding it together till one day it just all came out. And I realized I was having a nervous breakdown. I called up my husband, honey, we were at the park, and I saw all these children who were healthy. Their brains are working perfectly, and they're fine, and our son could possibly die. Why did this happen to us? I wish this never happened. I wish he never had a seizure. I wish that we could change the course of his life. And he said, okay, hon, I'm going to leave now, and I'll meet you at home. And I started crying some more. And he said, what you need to do is you need to stop. Just like with Nathaniel's brain, you need to stop that neural net. You need to change your focus. So what I did was I actually listened to my husband. He said, turn on the TV. And I said, turn on the TV. I'm trying to save our son's life. He's like, Miss Herrera, turn on the TV. This is the lesson plan. Okay. I listened to him, and I turned on the TV. The TV was not going to give me the solution to the problem that I had, I thought. And then it was another hero's journey story. Another time of characters being in the cave. And Gandalf was talking to Frodo. And Frodo was so sad and upset. I wish the ring never came to me. I wish that this never happened. And I realized, I just said that to my husband on the phone. What was happening here? I pressed pause. I knew what was coming. I had seen the movie many times. And I got my journal and I played it. And I wrote down what Gandalf said. He said, so do all who live to see such times. That is not for us to decide. What is for us to decide is what to do with the time that has been given to us. And that moment changed everything for me. I realized I couldn't decide if I had 5 more minutes with Nathaniel, 5 more years. I couldn't decide if I had 5 more days with him. But what I could in that moment do, with my son sleeping, not having a seizure that day, I could decide to give myself 100% to loving this child. That I would love him every second for the rest of his life, no matter what he did or how crazy he drove me. And that's the elixir That's the elixir that I brought back, was to realize that I could commit myself to being in this moment and choosing to make a difference. The practice that I've been using is called RAIN by Tara Brach. And you recognize what you are feeling in those moments on the road of trials. Make sure that you allow those feelings to be there. Give yourself permission to feel that. And make sure that you investigate. Find out, what is this about? Is this a core issue? And then make sure to nurture yourself with great stories, because they're medicine for the soul. In The Last Jedi, Yoda says, greatest teacher failure is. We failed so many times with Nathaniel's seizures, but I'm so happy to say Nathaniel's 16 years old today. He's sitting right back there, and he hasn't had a seizure in over 11 years. We are so, so happy for him. So we found out the cure for the pain is in the pain. You can't run away and push it away. What you resist persists. It just gets stronger. What you need to do is remember that even for the butterfly to become this beautiful creature, has to melt down to this glob of goo before it reforms itself, transforms itself, and becomes a butterfly. And we can find in nature that there are spirals everywhere. Life is this beautiful spiral. The universe is this spiral. We have to take care of ourselves by making sure to do the things that make us happy, that invite our soul. We have to see that we are luminous beings, and even our universes, all galaxies, are these beautiful reminders of the possibility within ourselves. What are you going to do with the time that's been given to you? I'm going to love my children every moment that I can, and my husband. And will you sit out and watch the waves, or will you seize your wave? Will you enjoy the possibilities that come with taking your life on? I am here for it, and I'm going to love every moment that I have left on this planet. Thank you.